Hi everyone, my name is Nitya and you're at my Flosstube channel, Daybreakstitchery. This is a channel all about cross stitch, a little bit of embroidery and crochet today too. It's the end, well, it was supposed to be the end of September. Now we're at the beginning of October. So I have about 3 months of stitching, a little over 3 months of stitching to show you. Last time I saw you was the end of June. So we've been through the summer and a little bit of fall. It was a really wonderful summer. I got to visit with a lot of people this summer, and I'm a teacher. I'm a high school teacher. The school year's off to a good start, so far so good. I think what I might do is just get right into showing you what I've been working on. I don't usually do much in terms of life update. I just tell stories along the way, so that's what we'll do today. So I think I'll start with finishes. So first up, I was so happy to finish this one, and it was a really fun stitch. It's called Halloween is My Favorite, and it's a pattern by my friend Sarah, whose design name is Mod Cross. You can find her on Etsy, and this pattern was from the latest, the 2025 Just Cross Stitch Halloween magazine issue. And I changed the color fabric. I don't remember what the called for fabric was, but because I changed the color fabric to this, it's a 22 count tobacco. This was a gift from my friend Maryam. And because I changed to this color fabric, I had to change a little bit of the colors too. And I just used colors from Stash. And it was really good fun to stitch. The best part, I think, is these little eyes that show up in the border. These googly eyes. They're here. And then there's some up top and on the side. They were really fun to do. And now, kind of like when people put the stick-on googly eyes onto things, now I kind of want to put these googly eyes onto everything I stitch too. Yeah, so that was a fun finish, a fun and quick finish. And I don't think I'll have it fully finished in time for this Halloween, but eventually I'll have it out with all of my Halloween decorations that I put out on my front porch. Okay. Well, since I was stitching with the Just Cross Stitch Halloween magazine, you know, Sarah's pattern, I found a couple other things in there that I wanted to stitch to, and they were really quick finishes, so I'll show you those too. Okay, let me remember. This teeny guy is a pattern by Wickham Cottage. Wickham Cottage, I think, is the designer. And it's just these pumpkins in a grid. And that was a lot of fun to stitch too. This is 1/1 on 27 count Linda fabric. And I find 27 count to be ideal. It's got the perfect coverage for 1/1 stitching. 28 count, I've done 28 count before. It just seems a little bit too tight sometimes. So 27 seems to be the perfect perfect size for 1/1 stitching. So that's fun. I'll eventually fully finish that one too. And then let me find a place to put all this stuff. And then I also did this one, which is by Wrought Iron. I think it's by Wrought Iron Stitching. And it's just a little Quaker, a teeny Halloween Quaker. So that was fun. Once I, finished Sarah's pattern, I had the magazine out, and it was just fun to see what else. I don't usually finish a whole bunch from a magazine like that, but gave it a go, and that it was nice. Okay. Next up, I'll show you a crochet finish. No, I wouldn't have had this done the last time I popped on. So in Chicago, I'm in the Chicago area, and in Chicago there's a yarn crawl that happens at the end of July, like early August, and I was able to make a sort of a pilgrimage stop to Miss Pearl's yarn shop in the Beverly neighborhood in Chicago, and I met the shop owner, Kamaka, who's just a gem of a person, and spent some time at the shop and so she helped me pick out some yarns, and I was asking her for a lightweight yarn that I could use for a like spring or fall cowl. I wear a lot of cowls, and she recommended this one. This is a Berroco. I don't remember. I'll put it in the description below, but it's a Berroco yarn that's a wool and linen blend. I think that's what it is. Wool and linen blend. So it's a really lightweight wool. And I just made up my own pattern for this cowl. So it's alternating like single crochets and like a bean stitch, and then a couple repeats of that. And so that's what I've been wearing. This has been sort of my lightweight as we move into fall season. I've been wearing a little bit more of this, so that's been nice. It feels really nice too. So that was one crochet finish. And then I actually, I'll show you an embroidery finish. This was just within the past week or so. So I have a stitchy friend, Vina, who I got to meet in person back in 2022 at StitchCon, and we Zoom occasionally and stitch and chat about all kinds of stitchy things, and she recommended a YouTube channel called, Cool Kooky Creatures, all with K's, and the host is Tori, and she puts on this, she does a lot of slow stitching, so patching pieces of fabric and doing embroidery over them, and she hosts a stitched postcard challenge. So she gives a keyword at the beginning of each month, and to kind of get your creative juices flowing, you try to create a stitched postcard, so a 4x6 postcard following that theme. So this month's theme was magic. Vina recommended her last month, and I started watching her videos, and then she started talking about this project. And I thought, you know what? I have an idea for this. So the theme was abracadabra, so she said anything magic related. And two things popped into my mind. One, well, I'll show you what I did. So this is the postcard that I stitched. So the first thing that popped into my mind with magic was Sarah, my friend Sarah Moncross. She has a bookmark pattern called Books Are Magic. And I thought, I've been wanting to stitch that, and this would give me a way to incorporate it with some other things too. So I stitched this little patch also on a piece of that same black Linda that I did the little pumpkin square on. I cut it out, and then I put it on this. This is a piece of cotton broadcloth that I picked up at a local needle workshop here, Maydell. She'll cut fabric into like small cuts for you, so I get cotton. It's easy to find cotton fabric there. So I patched it onto there using these alternating color stitches. And it just happened to also be Banned Books Week here in the US last week. Just a celebration of reading everything, and a call against banning books. So I thought, okay, I can work that into my message too. So I stitched a little message on the top that says, sit a spell and read banned books with me. Sit a spell and read banned books with me. And I just filled it in with some embroidery. I was super proud of this, like the writing on this book and the way that I stitched in the lines. And backed it with just a piece of felt that I had in my stash. Everything here is from stash. And that's what it is. And it was really fun. This was kind of my weekday project for about a week. I just put a little bit into it each night and had a fun time with it. So I'll probably do another, I'll keep up with the channel and see if I can do another one. In terms of embroidery stitches, I mean, I'm very new to embroidery. I think you all know from a few videos ago, I watched, or I joined a class with Badass Cross Stitch, Shannon Downey. She wrote the book Move the Needle, and she holds these live Zoom sessions where you can learn the basics of embroidery. And once she taught me like a basic running stitch, which is basically just stitching in a row, like these books here, you can pretty much look up any other. If you already have experience with a thread and needle, picking up embroidery stitches is really easy. And there are diagrams and suggestions everywhere. Like, I looked up, what stitch do you recommend to fill up a space? Because I wanted to fill up like these little spaces in here. And I found examples of these like confetti-like stitches all around, so I put those in. These stars, they show up in different forms of embroidery. It's very easy to find instructions and ideas for stitches. So, and it works up really fast. I think I mentioned before in other videos that embroidery, you can finish an embroidery project in a very short amount of time, so it makes it a really appealing craft to do. You can check out Cool Kooky Creatures on YouTube, and then she's also got a Facebook page where people share their finished projects. Okay, back to cross stitch. I finished this one, which I showed you the start of last time. This is Strawberry Delight by Yasmin, from Yasmin's Made with Love. And it's on a 36 count linen. Old Blue Jean, I think is what it's called. Old Blue Jeans is what it's called. And it's by Kaylee Tent Stitch. And this was a gift from, well, I haven't been mentioning gifts. Back here, this little Halloween Quaker is stitched on a Atomic Ranch fabric. The colorway is called Hera. It looks almost white. There's a very light dye to it. And this was a gift from my friend Meg, who goes by, who is a Flosstuber and a cross stitcher and embroiderer and all around crafter. And Meg goes by X Books and the Moon on Flosstube, and I'll link the channel down below. And then Meg sent me that fabric, and then this fabric was a gift from Julie, who's Julian Stitches, and it's a nice long piece of fabric. So this strawberry is part of a series of fruits. There's a whole fruit series, so now I have room. Since I know it fits in one square of the fold of this fabric, I think I can do others in this fabric too. So that's what I'm kind of hoping to do. And I might have started this strawberry pattern as part of that Strawberry Moon Sale earlier this summer, hosted by Marjorie Maid. I think I did, but I started it long ago enough where now I can't remember. So anyway, I think it's part of that sale, and it's really cute. And this was another kind of quick stitch. It took me I started it earlier this summer and finished it over the summer. So it's floss from stash, and it's 2 strands over 2 on 36 count. Okay, next up I joined Michael from Melanie and Michael Uplift Stitches. Michael's been stitching a lot of patterns that are Peanuts inspired. Peanuts, the comic strip. And so there's a book, Peanuts cross stitch book, which I checked out from my library, and it's overdue, so I need to get it back. But there are a couple of patterns in there that I am stitching on, and one of them I finished. So part of this is charted, and part of this I made up. So in 1972, Charles Schulz, who, drew this comic, created this comic, he did a special series where it was kind of a call to calling out banned books. And I think it might have been in reaction to, in 1972, there was some book banning going on. I mean, there's always book banning going on, but in 1972, I think Catch-22 had been banned by a school district in Ohio. So this strip, it involves Linus. He shows up at his school library and his favorite book series has been banned. And the crew works together to try to figure out who banned it. And it turns out it's a school board member who had not even read the book. So this chart was not a banned book chart in the Peanuts cross stitch book, but I saw this Linus kind of looking like he was either talking or yelling, and I just thought, I feel like this Linus is channeling everything we're feeling right now about all sorts of stuff. I have to stitch something related to this. And then I did a little research and found out about the banned books thing. So I made up this chart here. I just charted this out myself and stitched it in. And it sort of mimics what he's doing in the actual comic strip, where he's at the kind of counter at the library and he's like, "What? You've banned my book." So it's kind of channeling that moment. This is on a 40 count Picture This Plus. The colorway is called Tarnished. And I've stitched it 1/1, which is not typical for me, but it worked out okay. You know, these Picture This Plus fabrics, the 40 counts, actually have a pretty tight weave. So it works. With 1/1, it works. So that's that one. That was fun to do. And interesting to do that research too and read about that. And then I'm also kind of we're not talking about whips yet, but we might as well. I also started one other pattern from the book, which is just Charlie and Snoopy hugging each other. Well, Charlie's doing the hugging. And this, I've pretty much done all the outline. I just need to fill in. There's a lot of fill in on this one, so I need to do that bit of it. So it's on the same fabric. I put them both on the same fabric. So this one I thought was interesting because it doesn't use the conventional black outline, like the comic strip, you know, it's drawn in ink. This one changed it to sort of a sepia tone outline. And I thought that was kind of interesting, so try that one. And so I need to finish that, and I need to return this. This needs to go back to the library. Okay, and then I do have one more finish, which is I am working on this huge piece, which is a combination of Palestinian Tetris patterns from all different people. So this one right here is from the January 2023 World of Cross Stitch magazine. It's a pattern by Deco Elian Designs, and that one I had finished some time ago. This up here is Cypress Heart. It's a pattern by Tira Zane Initiative, which is a huge kind of encyclopedia online of Tetris stitches. This was by Hib Stitches, who's technically not a Palestinian stitcher, but who gave this pattern to folks who donated for aid relief. And then I did finish this time around this quadrant here, which is a portion of a pattern by Linus Thobe, who's a Palestinian American stitcher. And I think the pattern is called Lena's Hanging Design. I think that's what it is. And if you picture this quadrant 4 times, that's the actual pattern. But I decided to make it just part of the pattern on here. So I did finish that part. And you can kind of tell I'm using the same colors all the way through as I keep adding new patterns. So down here I did a little bit of work too on, this is by Min Amani Designs, who's also a Palestinian American stitcher. And that will go through, I'll probably do half of that space with that pattern and then maybe change it up to another one. So it was good to get that one done. It wasn't on my list of ones to get done, but I enjoyed stitching on that one, and I have other Linus Thobe patterns that I'd like to pick up and try. It's a really good time. I mean, it has been for a long time with everything going on, genocide going on in Gaza. Of course, think about reading it, learn, read, support, help, read voices, Palestinian voices. And for us, needleworkers, if you're going to stitch Palestinian patterns, please stitch from Palestinian creators and not from, you know, people outside of the culture who are selling patterns and making money off of this cultural practice. It's very much tied to identity of a people, and there are just some cultures whose patterns you should not be paying other people to stitch. All right, let us take a little pause here, and then I'm going to come back and show some more whips. Be right back. Okay, so let's do a whip, and then let's do a giveaway. I've got a giveaway today. this is technically, end of September is technically my Flosstube anniversary, and I think I've just completed 5 years. Yeah, because I started in 2020. So I'm starting my 6th year on Flosstube, which is really incredible to think about. It doesn't feel like it's been that long. That time has flown by. So I know some of you have been around since the very beginning, and I appreciate you, and I think I've picked up friends along the way, and that's been a really lovely thing to do. And I have a couple of, thanks to Shaded Stitchery, I have a couple of giveaways I can do as part of this video. But let me show you my whip first. Okay, so I am taking some patterns by Shaded Stitchery and putting them together to make one large piece. So Nuri has this series called the Closely Kept series, which are these small motifs that are inspired by the designs inside these tin type kind of photo holders. And so there's a whole series of these. This is number 3. I don't have the booklet for 1 and 2 right in front of me, but I can show you 3 and I can show you 4 right here. It looks like this. And that's Closely Kept number 4. So I'm taking those motifs and stitching them on a fabric spread apart, and then I'm filling in the gaps with geometric patterns from the array. So I'm filling in any spaces between the patterns with motifs from this, the monochromatic version of this. So let me show you what I've got so far. So this was one of the Closely Kept, and I don't remember which number it was. Here's number 4 coming in right here. This was another one. These are 1 and 2, but I don't remember which one is which. And then I'm filling in the gap, so you can see it kind of hugs the pattern right here. And I'm filling in the gap with this geometric pattern from the array. And the same will happen all around. So this right here is the start of another geometric pattern that I'll fill in here. I'll put in a geometric pattern right here, and then I'll continue stitching future motifs here. So that's what it looks like so far. So it'll become one large piece by the time I'm done with it. So this is on an 18 count barnwood by Picture This Plus, and I use 1 strand of Sulky. The colorway is dark chestnut. That's really fun to work on because Sulky is a single strand. It's a thick strand. You can stitch with just 1, so it stitches up really fast. So that's a really enjoyable piece to work on. And it's just interesting, like, you know, when working on, like, where 2 parts meet, just thinking about how you want that to work, it just creates some interesting things to think through. So I'm enjoying that. So Nuri has been contacting Flosstubers to see if anyone wants to give away her designs. So I have 2 copies of the new Closely Kept. So this is Closely Kept 5. Look at that. That's beautiful. And I have 2 copies to give away. So let's choose a keyword for this. How about just close? Let's make close the keyword on it for Closely Kept 5. And I have 2, so I'll draw 2 names. I'm not recording another Flosstube until the end of December, but let's make the deadline for this giveaway October 31st. So I'll do a drawing on November 1st. So by October 31st midnight, or 11:59, put in your comment below close, and I'll mail these. Follow, please, all the guidelines. So please be 18 or older. I need to obtain your mailing address if you win, so you have to be an adult. Please don't mention giveaway or raffle or anything like that in the comments. That draws spam comments. Be okay with, if it's never happened before, but if the U.S. Postal Service happens to lose these patterns, I won't be replacing them, so you have to be okay with that. And then, of course, be a subscriber and leave your comment with close below. And I'll do that. I'll keep a lookout for comments, and we'll do the drawing on November 1st. I need to buy my own copies of Nuri's patterns. I didn't really do any shopping this year at just have a needlework marketplace. I think that happens in August. I just have so many things I'm working on that I didn't even look. But Nuri's patterns I will definitely pick up because I just can't wait to do the next one. Okay, speaking of which, Nuri has been doing a month-long stitch-along for her birthday, and she's selected themes for each week of October. And the first was to stitch on one of her patterns. The second one is to stitch on, I think, something with bright colors. I'm sure I have something I can take out for that. I can't remember what the third one is. But the fourth one is to stitch on something either by Jed X Stitch or something else. And so I picked up this summer the Just Cross Stitch summer magazine, and there's a small Jed X Stitch pattern there. I've never stitched patterns by Jed X Stitch before, but I think, like all of us, we've been admiring them. And I know a lot of people are working on that Cherry Magpie, and there's a new one that came out with a Blue Jay, I think. So I didn't want to start a large one, but it was nice that the magazine had this small one. It's called Blueberry Harvest, and it'll look like this. And so I got a tiny start to it. This is on a 20 count fabric, but I'm not sure what it is. It's got kind of a gray tone to it, grayish tan tone. And I've gotten a little bit of a start. The blueberries are interesting. They have these like plaid patterns inside. There's just a lot. They're very busy, which I actually really like. I didn't have all the called for colors, so I'm substituting some, and I think it's looking fine. And so for Nuri's birthday, I'll take that back out and put some more stitches in this one. And it's real cute. Look at that little party hat and the bird. So that should be good fun to do. I actually stitched one other thing I'll show you real quick from this magazine. Sorry, I didn't bookmark it. Let me look for it. So this pattern, Breathe. It's this turned into kind of a desk display item, and then there's this one is really interesting. It's been stitched and then the designer watercolor painted inside it. I would love to try that sometime. It's by Twisted Willow Designs. But what I decided to do is stitch it very small over a 27 count and then made it into a bookmark. So this is with it's a Silks for You silk, I think that's what it is. And this is on a piece of 27 count Linda that was white, but I dyed it at an event at my public library this summer. So it's got a little bit of green and pink modeling all over it. And then I've matted it on a little piece of wood. I got these from Etsy way back when. A stack of paper thin cuts of wood that are bookmark size. So I will sometimes mat things on there and make them into little bookmarks. So that was fun to stitch. It's just nice. I'm not usually one to take a magazine and stitch multiple things from it, but it's been kind of fun to do that. There's another piece in here that could be fun to stitch. This yoga piece. I mean, it's not on my radar to stitch right now, but that's kind of neat too. Anyway, so that's this bookmark. I had to chase this down this morning because I knew I had started using it right away. I couldn't remember which book I put it in, so I delayed filming to go find that. Okay, I have a whole bunch of new starts. I always do. If you've been around for a while, you know that my stash is kind of my sketch pad. Whenever an idea pops into my mind, I go for it. I try it out, and sometimes ideas stick and sometimes they don't, but I enjoy the journey. So we've been on a journey with my stash here. So first up is I am stitching an adaptation of Annie's Garden. This is by Carriage House Samplings, and it's a real pretty pattern. I'm changing the colors a bit. So I am making this one. I'll show you what I have so far. Here's what I've got so far. Let me double it up so you can't see through it. So this one I decided to make as a tribute to Nadia Hussein, who you might know. She was one of the early winners of the Great British Bake Off, and just a delightful person to watch. This is going way back, so we're talking about like the early episodes where Mel and Sue were hosts, who I just love them so much. But Nitya came out this summer. She did an episode of a podcast called We Need to Talk, and it's available on YouTube. And she talked, this was right after the BBC basically did not renew her contracts. And she, this podcast was fascinating and inspiring. She told so many stories about being a Muslim in the UK, Muslim person in the UK, being a Bangladeshi person in the UK, being a person of color in the UK, and in the, culinary industry. And she talks a lot about how she's forging a new path after letting go of BBC because, basically she didn't want to become a token Muslim Bangladeshi person on TV. She wanted to be able to be free to express whatever she wanted to express, share her own ideas and parts of her culture in a way that's accepted and in a way where she could define it. So I recommend the podcast episode. It was really good. The interviewer on there, I don't remember his name, but I thought he was a really great interviewer. He let her do a lot of the talking, and then he had really insightful comments and questions to ask too. So it was really good. She said a lot. She shared a lot about family. There were things she said that really, really spoke to me. I really connected with that interview. I've heard it a few times already. And there's something she says in that interview where it's something like referring to BBC or anybody else who tries to put restrictions on what she can and can't say or can or can't do or how she presents herself. She basically said, you can't put me in a box, and I don't do glass ceilings. I break glass ceilings. And I just thought, ooh, I would love to stitch that. I would love to stitch her name and her words on something. And I was looking through patterns, and when I saw this Annie's Garden, I loved this center flower, how like it stands straight up with confidence. And so the way I'm stitching it is I'm actually stitching this stem much higher up. So this whole flower is going to be pushed up, and I'm going to stitch a border that kind of comes to the side. So it looks like the flower is breaking through the border. And then I will find a place probably down here, or maybe just on the bottom, I will stitch her quote. So that's kind of what I have planned. But I just thought about how can I represent that, her idea of like busting through, being contained. And I think that's going to be a good way to show it. So that pattern I got used. Sometimes I'll buy little bundles of patterns on like eBay where people will say, pack of used patterns, lot of used patterns. They'll be, $10 or $15, and you get a whole bunch in there, and you don't always know what's in them. So that's actually where I got, that was a really nice find for that pattern to show up in that set. And then I'm changing all the colors because Nitya wears really bright colors. And she said in the interview, if you see me wearing black, it means I'm not having a good day. Like her headscarf or any clothes, she's like, she chooses color all the time. So I wanted to choose some colors that stood out on this black fabric. This again is a 27 count Linda. I keep finding needles and everything. 27 count Linda. So I'm stitching it 1/1, and it's working out pretty well. I think that's a good mix, and I'll be able to have enough room on this fabric to stitch the quote too. Okay. Next up, I'll show you real quick. I actually got a book. Nadia's latest book is Ruza, and it's a journey through Islamic cuisine inspired by Ramadan and Eid. And it's been really interesting to read through. I haven't found a recipe yet that I want to try, but I haven't looked close enough. But she basically takes, let me see if I can show you. Like, she goes country by country. So she's got cuisine from all these different countries that celebrate Eid and Ramadan, and has recipes from each part. So it's been super interesting to piece through, and a lot of stuff looks really good too. I have a recipe of Nadia's that I've made before that actually turned out really good. It was a haddock bake. So fish, but I don't eat fish. I'm vegetarian, so I marinated it with on tofu instead, and baked it the same. Like, it's got potatoes and stuff around. It was pretty good. It was also nice to have, I made this a long time ago. It's been a long while since I made it. But you know how sometimes, I don't know if you're like this, but everything tends to have the similar flavor profile. It's either like curry flavors or like Mediterranean flavors, or like Mexican flavors. And we make lots of different things, but kind of with those same flavor profiles, because then our grocery list remains pretty easy to pick up because we know exactly what we need. But that haddock bake was kind of an example of just doing some, like shaking it up a little bit. So that was good. Okay, so I am doing a couple of sals with some wonderful stitchy people. And the first one up is this pattern. It's Blackbird Designs. It's Violets Blue. And it's this house here with all these violets. Now, you know, if you've been around for a while, I don't like to stitch houses. So something else is going to go in there, and I'm thinking about what to do. But this is a stitch along with Danielle B's Crafting Corner. And Danielle had a video earlier this summer with, how many was it? Like 10 projects, let's say, that Danielle was thinking about starting and wanted to know if anyone wanted to stitch with her. And she had a Blackbird Designs one that she wanted to stitch. And I thought maybe this would be a good kind of kick in the pants to try. I have Blackbird Designs patterns in stash. And the unique thing about hers was that she was playing around with colors. So she was changing the colors on Blackbird Designs, which I know a lot of people don't do. I think a lot of people stitch as charted with Blackbird. But I am not a fan of kind of prim or muted colors like that. You know, I like brighter colors. So I reached out to Danielle. I said, hey, if you're going to do this one, let me know, and let's sell something together, because I have a Blackbird. I can find a Blackbird where I want to change the colors too. So here's how I changed. So once again, this was the original. They're pretty. They're dark. Those dark purples are nice. But I wanted to brighten it up. So here's mine. So I picked out, I think I've got 4 shades of purple, and each one of those shades of purple that I picked out, I've sort of matched along with one of the provided shades, one of the charted shades called for. And so, like, for example, whenever this light purple, that's stitched in the same place as one of the other purples that are charted for, and I just use that in the equivalent spots. So I am thinking in the middle, I don't have a clear idea yet of what I want to do to replace that house, but you know I love Star Trek, and I was looking at like the significance of purple in Star Trek, and I read that the only character who wore purple was Seven of Nine. So I may choose maybe a quote. Sure, you know, her storyline has a lot to do with identity, and I think that's interesting. So there may be something there. Or I may just treat this like a sampler and maybe stitch a 7 and a 9 or 7 of 9, like her name in it. I may do something like that. There's not a whole lot of room to play with. The house would have come in right here. So I'll have to keep it brief anyway. I don't think I'd have room for a whole quote, so I may do that. Oh, and then, what fabric is this on? This is on a piece of Tea Earl Grey Hot. And you're going to have to help me with Lap and Loops by Lap and Loops, which was my first Lap and Loops I picked up this summer. You know, I got to see Sarah twice this summer. When Steve was doing Ride Across Iowa, a couple of days of Ride Across Iowa, we stopped and actually got to stay on the farm, which was so cool. And then Sarah was super generous because we were supposed to camp on the farm in a tent, and then there were storms that came through that night. So we got to stay, you know, she let us stay at her place. I got to spend some time with her girls, and we all had dinner together, and it was just, like, it made me feel so good to see her and spend time with her. And then I got to see Sarah again with Maryam. We did a Needle Minders retreat. So that's me, Sarah, Maryam. Normally it's Julie. Julian stitches too, but Julie couldn't make it this year, so we were missing her a lot. But the 3 of us got together. We spent just an overnight and got got to catch up, have a nice catch up, got to talk out all sorts of things, got a lot of stitching done. We stopped at beautiful Stitchery, and I was able to get some of this. She carries, Brett carries this lap and loops. This is a 20 count piece, so I think it's got that nice tapestry feel. I'm stitching 2 strands over it. Now this is a little bit, remember how I talked about that Picture This Plus the 40 count is really tight weave? This 20 count lap and loops is actually really loose. So I tried it with 1 strand and it didn't have enough coverage. So I'm using 2 and it works just fine, and it doesn't feel super tight. So this fabric I originally chose for another stitch along that I'm doing with Meg, who I mentioned before, who's X Books and the Moon. And I saw this chart, and then I can't remember if Meg brought it up or if I brought it up, but we both brought up this fabric and wanting to try it, being the tea Earl Grey Hot is a Star Trek reference. And I said, okay, well, if we both get this fabric, there's the perfect pattern to put on it. It's a chart. Oh no, I don't remember the designer. I'll put it in the description below. But it's a chart of a poster drawn by children that says Captain Picard Day. And there's an episode in Star Trek Next Generation where the kids, like the school on the ship, is doing a day in tribute to Captain Picard, and he absolutely hates it because he doesn't like attention and he's uncomfortable around kids. But someone charted the little kids poster, and I just thought that would be so cute. So it's using primary colors and a couple secondary, but like very, basic colors. And it's written in a child handwriting. So that'll be fun. I gotta get back to that one, and I gotta check in with Meg to see how she's doing on that one too. All right. And then, what else can I show you? Oh, I can show you, I have a whip actually that I did work on that I can show you. Oh no, let's do one other thing. Let's do, speaking of Maryam and Sarah, after seeing them this summer, they were on my mind, and I've been stitching a lot by them. And when I went to the retreat this summer, one of my projects I really wanted to work on was Cosmo Bloom. And this is by Sarah. She goes by Mod Cross. And I wanted to make a good chunk of progress on this, and I did. I was working on this a lot this summer. This is actually on my list. I don't mention it very much, but I actually do have a list of goals for this year. I picked out 10 projects that I wanted to try to finish this year, 10 whips. And I have finished some, and I'm close to finishing others. And this is one of them. So here's how far I am on this one. Isn't it beautiful? So this is you have a little bit of a Peruvian flare pattern sneaking in there. This is let's see. It's a fabric by Primitive Hair. I'll show you. It's called Ancient Stones. So it's kind of printed. It's like white on the background, so it's printed on the front. And I think it's a 30 count. Primitive Hair does some unusual fabric sizes. I think it's a 30 count. But see how gauzy it is? Like you can see through. It is really easy to stitch 1/1 on this. So it's strange because 28 count, normally 28 count feels too tight to stitch 1/1. So 30 count should be even tighter. But because it's so gauzy and the weave is so loose, it actually makes it really easy to stitch 1/1 on this. So Primitive Hair, I recommend Primitive Hair 30 count for 1/1 stitching. So here's a closer look. So this is done with 11 colors. It's a full coverage pattern, meaning the background won't be stitched, but the flower motif itself is full coverage. And you can accomplish it with 11 colors. Am I showing you the front? Yes. And I just love it. And I've gotten really far on it. There is one color that I had missed, I hadn't picked up. And it's the one, there's going to be a layer that goes around all these petals on the outer edge. So I have that now. So I'll be able to do that outer edge. And then after that, it's just working a few more of these little patches inside. We're almost there. It's coming along. So I do think I can finish this by the end of the year. And I'm going to try. So that again was by Mod Cross by Sarah. And then I have a couple of patterns I'm working on for Maryam too. So I have on this, it's a 22 count fabric by Live and Dye LA, and I don't remember the colorway, but it's this bright pink. And I'm stitching Fluff the Dragon on it. And this is with like a dark green. Is it my favorite dark green? Hold on a sec. I'm going to take my glasses off and look. Give me one sec here. It is. So this is with my favorite dark green, which is Cosmo 538. But it looks almost black, doesn't it? But it is actually like a tinge of green. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. So I just got the border in. I'll have to put in a picture of what the pattern looks like. This was also a stitch along with Sebastian and Bees and T. No, not Bees and. Is Sebastian Bees and Tees stitching? I think so. Sebastian, for their birthday this summer, was encouraging people to either stitch on an artisy pattern or a dragon. I think that's right. I think I'm remembering the correct stitch along. So I hadn't started Fluff before, so that's why I started for that one. And that's been really fun to do. I think I'm stitching it with one. Yeah, so one strand's working out pretty okay on that one. And I'll keep it, it'll stay monochromatic. I'll just stitch it with the one color. All right, I have another whip that I worked on, and this one is not only a whip on my list of 10 whips to finish, to try to push myself to finish, it's also a challenge piece for the Embroiderers Guild of America. My chapter is the Windy City chapter. We all choose a difficult piece to work on, and we have from January to January to finish it. Many people don't. But for anyone who does, you get put into a raffle to win your guild EGA fees for the following year. I think I can finish this. I'm going to try to finish by the end of December. This is, it's not Birds from Bernard's books. It's Baldaquin Birdies. So it's the stitch along for this year by Modern Folk Embroidery. And this, I'm putting it on a 27 count Whisper. Linda fabric. The colorway is called Whisper. So it's like a light gray. It's hard to see, but it's a grayish tone. So I'm just going to pan over it so you can see what it looks like so far. I got a lot done this summer. I have made it all the way from the top to the bottom. So that's the bottom right there. And I filled in along the central column. I did a lot of work on that one, filling in. And then I worked, kind of came out by the bird here on this side and worked on some of that. So I do still have quite a bit to do because everything that's on this side has to be filled out and then will also come in on this side. But it works up pretty fast. I mean, I did not spend a whole lot of time this summer working on this and still accomplished quite a bit. So I'm feeling pretty confident. This will be, we won't have a section on plans because my plans are to work on this and to finish Cosmo Bloom. Those are my plans. I totally forgot, speaking of Modern Folk Embroidery, the summer came and went, and then close to the end of July, I thought, oh, I never signed up for the state fair. Everyone's been doing these really great state fair videos. I know Stephanie Cross Stitch the Globe had some great success at the fair and had some beautiful pieces she put in, and also just enjoyed the experience of seeing everyone stitching. And I know Amy Graham, had some success at the fair this year, and she always has really beautiful pieces she submits. And Danielle, Gently Smiling Jaws, I don't think submitted pieces, but did a visit at the Puyallup Fair, which is her local, I don't remember if it's a state fair or a county fair. So it's been fair season around here. A lot of people have been submitting, and I had a piece that I stitched. You're going to remember it. It's my Put a Bird on It that I finished in December because my goal was, well, twofold. One, I wanted to finish it really early so that all I needed to worry about in the summer was fully finishing it. And then the other goal was to stitch it on something small. So this again is a 27 count Linda. And I just chose colors from Stash to stitch it. And I finished this back in December because I thought, great, I'll have my state fair finish out of the way and I can just think about submitting it this summer. And then completely fell off my radar. I didn't put it on my schedule, my calendar for the summer, and then it was too late by the time I realized it. And it takes a little bit of prep for me because I live 3.5 hours away from my state capital, so I have to mail in my pieces. That's why I made it on a small count, 27 count this year, because I thought it would make it easier to mail in. So I was totally ready and just forgot. So I'm just going to show you all. You can appreciate it one more time, even though you've seen it already. That was a really fun one to do, and it stitched up quick on this 27 count fabric. Okay. A few more things to show you. And then I also have I'm raffling off an enormous bundle of fabric, patterns, and floss for $5. So I want to get to that too. So I'm going to show you a few more things and we'll talk about that. Okay, next up, I watched That Darn Uplift Stitches, Melanie and Michael. And Melanie's working on this Bump in the Night by Prairie Schooler. Except she's doing a very cool thing with it, which is that she's taking this witch and putting all of these motifs next to the witch. So it becomes like a landscape orientation piece instead of going downwards. And I thought, you know what? I've got that pattern in stash. Let's go ahead and start. I've been on a little bit of a Halloween kick, so let's go ahead and start it. So I did. So this is on a 20 count fabric. I think it's Moss by Color and Cotton. It's actually green. It's got a it's green. You just can't tell. My camera's not showing it. But I've gotten a start and I've worked my way across the top. So this is the witch's hat. We've got an owl here. There will be a haunted house coming in here. There's the roof, a cat, black cat, and then a skeleton. So how many? 1, 2, 3, 4 motifs next to the witch. And I'm stitching this. I have a cone of DMC, so black floss I've got plenty. And I'm stitching it 2 strands over 1 on 20 count. And then the leftover from my little Halloween Quaker, I had leftover floss from that. I'm using that orange on here. It's like an accented, if you look at the picture, orange is used as an accent color. Okay. I was at my guild meeting this weekend. I got to see Maryam and a lot of fun people. We have a really wonderful guild chapter. And the October meeting, you know, there's the business meeting where the chapter discusses what they're doing, their plans for different things and their budget and all that. And then there's usually some kind of activity, so a themed activity. So in October, it's called Spooky Surprise, and a member takes it upon themselves to kit up something very easy and very small, but interesting to do. So this week, one of our guild members created this black work witch's hat. And the purpose of this is multifold. It's to practice a whipped back stitch, to practice filling stitches for black work, but then to also practice something called compensation, which is where if you have a pattern that repeats and you hit the border, how do you decide, like making decisions about how you fill in the border, keep up to the border, keeping the pattern true to what it is, but also making it fit in a given space. So it's supposed to be to practice that skill. So I haven't gotten very far at our meeting. I was talking a lot, so I just basically did the whipped back stitch for the hat pattern, and I haven't started the fill-in yet. So that will come. So yeah, that was it. They try to make it small and affordable. So this was just $2. And it relies on kind of the expertise of the guild members. Like they kind of offer up their expert. So like we had a member who designed this and wrote up all the instructions and charted it and everything. Last year, Maryam and Catherine, a friend of mine from the guild, were the Spooky Surprise designers. So yeah, people try to take turns and create something. And this one was just $2 for the little kits that they made for us. Okay. I have another new start. This one I'm making for my cousin. She just moved into a new space recently. And I'm taking this ink circles, it's Jolly Green, and I'm going to see if I can just adapt it to 4 squares. If I can just do 4 instead of the huge one. I may really like it and do the huge one, but I think I'll probably stick to the 4. And I'm just making this real simple. I'm doing this on a 27 count Linda with just a red floss from Stash. So far this is all I have. I'm enjoying it so far. I only spent like one afternoon on this and got this little bit done. So it's working up quick. So that will be an ongoing piece. I eventually want to be able to gift it to my cousin to put up in her new space. I have a few last things to show you. I just want to gather them up real quick and then we'll close this thing out. Okay, be right back. Okay, I've got a crochet whip to show you, and then we're going to talk about Indigenous Peoples Day, and then I want to talk about that raffle. I'm going to need your help with this raffle, so hopefully you're still here and you'll stick around and help spread the word about it too. Okay, I got this as part of the yarn crawl. I was shopping at Miss Pearl's in Beverly in Chicago, and she helped me pick out this cotton yarn. It's by Circulo and it's called Whoopee, and it's like a variegated yarn. It's all cotton and it feels fantastic. And you know, she was helping me pick out excuse me, yarns to make lightweight cowls. So this is one that she recommended. And what I'm doing with this one is I am doing Tunisian crochet stitch, which looks like this. So it creates like these kind of lines that move downward. But the interesting part of this is that, you know, a cowl is going to be worn this way. And when you look at it that way, Tunisian crochet stitch actually looks kind of interesting both directions with both orientations. Here it almost looks like a knits with like vertical lines in between. So when I wear it, it'll look like this. So I just think it's interesting. I've been playing with Tunisian, like basic Tunisian stitch, and then also just orientation to see if that will create some interesting patterns or change the way it looks when it's worn. So that's been fun. It's been very warm here. We haven't had that many cool days yet, so it's been hard to work on knit and crochet items. We had a couple of really cool weather days back in September, and I took advantage and finished a couple things, but so far it's been, it has finally started to cool off, so I can pick up like my cottons and lightweight fabrics now to knit and crochet in. Okay, I want to talk about this fundraiser, and then we're going to talk about Indigenous Peoples Day too, and I have some stitching related to all of this. So I started a fundraiser this summer for Brave Space Alliance. That's my local Chicago area organization that helps, it's Black-led and trans-led, and it helps queer folks basically with having their basic needs met. And I do a fundraiser for them every summer. This summer I waited till July because I was reading something about how to us LGBTQ organizations, they receive like an influx of donations for Pride Month, and then it peters off, right? Everybody forgets about it afterwards. So I decided to wait on mine. So I was able to raise $500 this summer. I want to keep going though, and I want to see if I can use my stash and your help to keep helping out Brave Space Alliance, some continued support. So I'll show you real quick. I made this little Brave keychain that I just embroidered on, and I have it backed onto a wooden, just a blank keychain. I got these off of Etsy, and I was just playing around with some things that I want to make some stuff to give away to the donors from this summer. So that's one of the items I was playing around with. But now let's talk about us. I want to run a raffle. So what I've got here, I won't go through everything, but I'll kind of hold it up and show you here. I have got 5 fat quarters of fabric, so 36 count mostly. I've got an 18 count, 2 18 count, 2 36 count, 2 18 count, and 1 32 count. Okay, I've got at least 10 skeins of floss cottage garden threads. And then I've got at least 10 patterns, and it's a mix. There's some tiny modernist, there's some ink circles, there's a sampler cove in there, there's a Summer House Stitchworks, and a Rosewood Manor, amongst others. Okay, so I've assembled just a bunch of stuff. Okay, and what I'd like to do is raffle it off. For $5, you can enter the raffle. You have to donate directly to Brave Space Alliance, and I'll link them below. And they're also linked in my Instagram profile now for Daybreak Stitchery. I've put their link, the direct link there. So you would directly donate $5 to Brave Space Alliance. And for every $5 that you donate, I will enter your name into the raffle. So if you donate $20, that's 4 entries into the raffle. But if all you can do is $5, that's fine. Here's the situation, though. I'm only going to run the raffle once we hit $400 in donations. So it may take us a while. That's, is it 80 people? That would be 80 people. So I have 800 subscribers, but I usually only get about 200 views per video. But if 80 of you would donate $5 to Brave Space Alliance, then forward to me. I have an email address I've created for my Flosstube channel now. It's daybreakstitchery@gmail.com. Email to me the confirmation that you donated, and you can screenshot it and like cross out personal info. I don't need personal info. I just need your name so I know who you are. I will keep a running list of everybody who's donated, and once we hit $400, this entire big bundle of stuff I will raffle off. Okay, so you can enter for $5. We're making it a direct donation to Brave Space Alliance, and they will ask you, if you donate $5, they will say, do you want to add 15 cents to like offset the costs, because they charge something for processing their donation fee. So if you can spare $5.15, go for it. But I'm going to wait until we hit an actual $400 to run that raffle. So if you are interested, or if you know any cross stitchers who are just starting out and they don't have a stash, this might be a good gift for them. I need your help just telling, like, spread the word, tell people about it, and just know that it will be kind of open-ended. I don't know when the raffle will actually happen because we're waiting to meet the fundraising goal first. So that's that. So that was all. That'll all be kept aside. And to be quite honest, I'm going through my stash all the time, so I may just continue adding stuff to it. And who knows what you'll get by the end of this whole thing. Also, shout out to Brave Space Alliance, all the supports they provide for folks who are trans. And I want to do and since we just finished Banned Books Week, I picked up at my local bookshop, they had a display for Banned Books Week, and I was able to pick up a book that I think you might be interested in reading too. All Boys Aren't Blue. If you've read it already, let me know your thoughts, but don't give away anything yet because I haven't read it all. But this is a story about a person who's Black and queer, and I can't wait to get into it. I'm curious to see what it's all about. I know people have been talking about it, and I want to know why it's on the Banned Books list. I'll let you know how it goes. Okay, last notes here. I am able to record this video today because it is what was formerly Columbus Day. Now we understand the violence of his colonialism, and we are transitioning this to Indigenous Peoples Day. And it's thanks to Indigenous Peoples Day that I'm able to have the time to check in with you and have the time to record and do this leisurely thing. So I want to dedicate a little bit of time here to show you some stitching. We actually do have a stitching pattern that's from a First Nations stitcher. So if you want to stitch on something for Indigenous Peoples Day or Indigenous related, this would be the thing to do. This is another, it's kind of like with Palestinian stitches. I don't think it seems appropriate to stitch on like native patterns created by non-native people and then pay them for it. That does not seem like a right thing to do with a culture who's had stuff stolen from them a lot, you know? So this is by the Craft Experimentalist. Let me hold it the right way. It goes this way. the craft experimentalist who is a member of Cherokee Nation. Yeah, I think Cherokee Nation. Um, and it's a basket weave. It's actually a sampler of basket weave patterns that this designer grew up like looking at and being familiar with from visiting um, Cherokee Nation, from visiting cultural museums and things like that. And so it's been adapted to cross stitch pattern. So I just barely got started on it. It's got 2 different shades of tan and then this dark brown. And I've put it on a 27 count Linda, just a contrasting color fabric. I don't know if I will do all of the pieces of the sampler, but I was drawn to this kind of weaving pattern. So I'll work on that. And, I mean, in terms of voices, First Nations voices to be reading today, I love Robin Wall Kimmerer. And you might want to know that my heart is like partly broken today because she is speaking in the Chicago area today. And because I did not get my act together, I was not able to get tickets. So I'm kind of grieving that. You can read The Service Berry. It is very moving and inspirational and will completely change how you think about consumerism and like stuff. So economy. So definitely read that. It's like an essay, so it's a quick read. And then many of you are already reading this or have already read it ages ago. I watched an interview on YouTube. There's a channel called Red Hoop Talk, which is a First Nations channel where lots of people from different nations are interviewed about all different types of topics. And they just had, like just a few weeks ago, they had Angeline Bully, who wrote The Firekeeper's Daughter, on. And I had never read that book before. It was on my radar, and I'd started it, but I hadn't really gotten through, I never get enough read, and then it has to be returned. But I loved that interview. She's incredible to listen to. She talks a lot about like being from a First Nations group. How do you know how much of your culture to share, to inform people with, versus since so much of your culture is stolen or taken and appropriated, how do you know when to protect stuff? So how do you know what to share and what to protect? I thought that was super interesting. So I have this bit of, there we go. So anyway, Angeline Bully. So when I stopped at my bookshop this week, they had a copy of Firekeeper's Daughter. So I've started it on audiobook and I'm going to continue on here. There are bits that I've just been needing to reread. Sometimes with audiobook, I find it difficult because like when I listen to Robin Wall Kimmerer, I love her voice on audiobook, but then I want to go back and like highlight everything. So it'll be good to have the hard copy. So I think that's everything. I didn't print out notes today. I had to wing it. So hopefully you found this a fun check-in or an interesting check-in, and I'm going to see you again in 3 months. I am actually going to pop off and then pop back on again. I have a really inspirational quote. You might be hearing about a lot of stuff going on in Chicago right now. It's crazy around here right now. I do have a really inspirational quote by Octavia Butler, but I didn't print it out. So let me go get it, and then I want to read it to you, and then we'll close this out. Okay, be right back. Okay, should we finish today with a little inspiration? Because the world is chaotic and it can be incapacitating sometimes, overwhelming. But I read this quote and, I don't like to really sit in despair for too long. I like to do something, feel part of something. If you don't know how to do something right now, just message me. I can give you ideas for what to do. And we can commiserate and everything else. So I want to leave you with this quote. This is by Octavia Butler. It's from an essay she wrote. There's no single answer that will solve all our future problems. There's no magic bullet. Instead, there are thousands of answers, at least. You can be one of them if you choose to be. So I'm choosing to be an answer, and I hope you are too. And we feel whatever we feel, and then when we're ready, we keep moving on. I think that's where I'll leave you today. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope to catch up with all of you soon. I'll see you in December, and if you have questions about the raffle or you donate email me. Everything's below, all the info will be in below. And don't forget to enter the giveaways for Nuri's patterns too. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye.